Well, here we are one more time. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about why the regular camera app, which is what I'm shooting in on the iPhone, is not the best choice in these kinds of situations. Now, I'm filming in the native camera app right now, and I'm also going to in this section I'm going to leave my audio the way it comes out of the phone. But I'm going to switch over to the Blackmagic camera app, and then from this point on, the rest of my audio will be run through Adobe Podcast Enhance, so you can hear why I do that. It's been a long time since we've talked about it, and I kind of want to reiterate that. So we're going to get a little lesson about light in this video and how to control the light. This camera app will not do that. I am starting here where I left off yesterday. I'm at 45% on the light behind the camera. And I'm going to go back to, I think I'm going to start there in the Blackmagic camera app so you can see how it changes the other direction. Here we go. Okay, so I am recording the screen of my phone right now. This is in the Blackmagic camera app, and I just want to point out a few things here that you're seeing on the screen. One is, right up here at the top, you will see that the shutter speed says 180. It's actually a shutter angle. When you are filming on a regular, real camera, like the Canon R or the Canon R6 Mark II that I have, if you have a shutter speed of 30 frames per second, that means that every second of video, there are 30 different pictures that camera has taken, and it's just running through them at 30 frames per second. The shutter then should go to twice that. So at 30 frames per second, the shutter speed should be 1/60. So 30, 60. When you set the shutter angle at 180%, that automatically sets it to that, no matter what frames per second you're using. So if I went to 60 frames per second, instead of having to manually change my shutter speed to 1/120, the 180 shutter does that automatically. Not every camera app has that. In fact, my Canon doesn't have that. You'll also see right here that my ISO is set at 20. Now remember, my light is still at 45% behind me. But do you see how dark this is? How much darker this is in the background? I had a comment from yesterday that said the light in the back was too bright. And I totally agree. The whole background was too bright. But now you can see me, and the background is sort of blurred out a little bit or darkened down a little bit. I do have the white balance set. Where did my finger go? I do have the white balance set here, and it's not set to white. It's not set to sunlight. That's something that I would probably change, but I left it here just because I'm going to put this up unedited, so it's going to look a little orange maybe, and part of that is because of this orange light behind me here. You will see that I am shooting, and there's my finger, in 4K, like I normally do. Now, let me come back to this ISO. ISO, the higher that number, the more light I'm letting into the camera, okay? My Canon will only go down to ISO 100, where the Blackmagic app goes all the way down to 20, which Nikon does a lower number than 100. So I can really darken this down and control the light. So I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to gradually build the light back up. We'll see if any of these things change over time. All right, so I've gone up to 55%. I don't expect to see much of a difference here because it's just not that much difference in the light that I'm letting in. However, you may start seeing this light behind me get a little brighter, and you may start seeing my face show up a little brighter as we go along. So this is 55%. I have everything else exactly the same. Shutter speed 180, ISO 20, my frames per second is 30. All right, now we are at, where did I go? 45, 55, 65% on the light. And my face as I'm looking at it on the screen of my phone, my face is starting to look just a little bit washed out. I don't know how that's going to look in DaVinci Resolve, but we should start seeing the background sort of starting to brighten up here a little bit. Now, I have gone a little overboard at ISO 120 or ISO 20, where ordinarily I wouldn't be filming this dark, but here we are. Let's try this one more time. All right, so this is at 75%. And again, on my screen on my phone, I'm looking a little bit plastic across here because the light is starting to get so bright. But this is one of the things that happens when you use the Blackmagic app. If I were to take this app outside, I would probably need an ND filter to control the light, something that's going to darken down the light coming into the lens, even at this, because the native camera app does this automatically. If I'm shooting at 30 frames per second and the light is getting brighter, it's going to increase the shutter speed to something like 1/2000. And that's why you get this sort of unreal looking digital kind of look with the normal camera app, because it's trying to do all the adjusting inside where you don't need anything else. If I take this where I've set the settings here in the camera app at 30 frames per second, shutter speed 180, ISO 20, the light outside is, I can't compensate for that unless maybe I put a little bit of a shadowed filter, what we call a neutral density filter, over the lens to block out the light just a little bit more. Let's go one more step. All right, so now we're at 85%, and I think that you're going to see this background is starting to lighten up a little bit. I also think you're going to see that my face is starting to look fairly washed out because the camera app isn't trying to make adjustments for this extra light like the regular camera app is. Yesterday's experiment may not have shown you just how drastic the light is because the camera app is constantly making changes to all the settings to try to compensate for the light. The Blackmagic camera app is not doing that. It's one of the reasons why I have hesitated to do a lot of video outdoors in the Blackmagic camera app for this channel, because it takes a little more thought and getting set up and that kind of stuff to get the light right. And trying to do a video every day makes that hard. We'll talk about that a little more when I reset the light one more time. All right, so now I'm at 95%. And what I was saying was I have to really think about, do I need a neutral density filter here? Do I need to reset the ISO? Do I need to change the frames per second? What do I need to do to control the light in an outside environment where then the regular iPhone camera app or your regular Android camera app is doing all of that internally without any thought to the quality of the video you're going to get? So once again, it's one of the reasons why when I go after the end of this year and I go to making maybe one video a week, my plan is to make those videos in the Blackmagic camera app, because controlling the light is hugely important in trying to get a cinematic look to make a video that looks like a movie, rather than just going out and pointing your camera and, moving it around like I'm doing right now, which is really, really easy to do. Now, just as an experiment, I have lowered the light down to 35%, which is not as bright as where we even started. And you can see the background again is very dark behind me, which it should be. You should still be able to see a catch light in my eye, but it shouldn't be overpowering the skin tones of my face at this point. All of this I could adjust in post-processing. I can adjust the color tones. I can adjust my face. I can, if it's too sharp, I can make it less sharp. If it's a little blurred, I could make it more sharp. But I'm not using any editing on the video. The only edit I've done is I've changed the audio to Adobe Podcast Enhance so you can tell the difference. So with the Blackmagic camera app, I should be able to make better videos down the road. And that's the whole purpose of showing you this little experiment today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. Maybe I'll actually be outside doing something interesting.